This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. We've got a lot we're going to cover on the program today, including, I'm leading with the Kristi Noem robbery. That's my lead story. It's a crazy story. And I'm in shock. I'm in shock. So that's what I'm going to lead with, without question. So I'm just setting up over here, guys. Oh. Earlier, I was streaming a little while ago, and I asked everybody in the chat room if they think that the Kristi Noem robbery is just a regular robbery or an op, and almost everyone thinks it was an op of some kind. The villages welcome. Op for sure. Yep. Yeah, I think it was an op too. There's no doubt about it. I'm gonna go when I go through it. Anyone who doesn't agree with that, I think, will rethink that, because it's pretty clear to me. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. An op. I'm convinced. I mean, why is the media not covering the story today? It's like they don't want the story out. going to show people this book. I just got this book yesterday, this biography of Harriet Tubman. I started reading it. I'm only a little bit into it, like that far into it. I just got it yesterday. I started reading it last night before bed. This is a great book. I'm reading it like very slowly. Lots of good information in there. Harriet Tubman. Oh yeah, she was awesome, Harriet Tubman. Ooh, that's just a hair. Harriet Tubman was a Republican, of course. Mm-hmm. Yes, my Gulf of America shirt. I love this, Gulf of America. I haven't had a chance to go see the Gulf of America yet, but I will soon. I'll go over there and make a YouTube video of the Gulf of America. It's about, let me see how long it would take to get there from my house. And it's a little less than 2-hour drive. I would go to Naples, Florida. Naples, Florida is on the Gulf of America coast. It's a nice little town, so I'd go to Naples. Naples is about 90 miles, maybe 100 miles from my house. Yeah, you had to get there. I have to go south about 20 miles, maybe 25. And then there's a road that crosses the state of Florida in the Everglades. It's called Alligator Alley. It goes directly across the Everglades from the Atlantic coast to the Gulf of America coast. Alligator Alley. So that's the official name of the road. It's not a nickname. Mm-hmm. Golf, it's Gulf, Gulf. They golf in Mexico, I guess. Yeah, we'll be live in a few minutes. I'm just waiting to hear from Mike at the radio station. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, this is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll be live in a few minutes. And then, when I'm live, I take calls live. So the toll-free number to call in is pinned in the chat. You can call me no matter where you're located, toll-free, whether you agree or disagree. And all the calls are 100% unvetted. Unvetted. Meaning, you call in, I put you on hold, and then when I pick you up, I'm hearing the call for the first time. That's right. So much to cover today. The news is just insane what's going on in the news. It's difficult sometimes to decide what to lead with. Mm-hmm. Yes, good MAGA morning to everyone. Immokalee. We'll be live in a few minutes. Now you tell yourself that, Stephen. A senior cabinet official involved in the largest deportation effort in U.S. history, taking on the terrorist gangs of Trinidad and MS-13, who's under massive Secret Service protection, doesn't just get robbed. Mm-hmm. Oh, they gotta have video. Okay. We'll be live in about 5 minutes on the air. Oh no, it's not a nothing burger. It's huge. Huge. Big story. Mm-hmm. As the beltway turns, that's exactly right. About 3 minutes we'll be live on the radio. I'm just reading over a couple of articles here on the computer. Mm-hmm. That's okay. You know, trolls are welcome to call in too, although you do have to watch your language. We'll be live in, well, 2 minutes. About. Mm-hmm. It's a clown show of amateurs, yeah, but it's a city in a panic, and when they're in a panic, they do crazy things. 2 minutes. Okay. I'm going to start the other feed now. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And man, oh man, there are several major stories today, all of which I could fill 3 hours of this show with, but I'm going to cover them all and a few others as well. But there's three major stories. I'm going to start with the robbery of Kristi Noem. Stand by. We'll be live in about 10 seconds. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Stand by. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is already Tuesday morning. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Today is a big news day. There are several major stories on some that are updates, that are new and updates on the biggest stories. Kristi Noem was robbed on Easter Sunday. I'm going to get into that in just a moment, but there's also a major update on two big stories. One, there's a big update on Garcia, the so-called Maryland man. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. And last week there was a third man was arrested for an assassination plot against the president. Covered that last week, but there's a major update with the newest Trump and this latest update on all of these stories should be the lead story in every news outlet in America, and they're not. But I'm going to start with the Kristi Noem robbery. I'm going to go through the details for those of you that aren't familiar with it, and then we'll talk about it. But this story was widely reported yesterday at about 11:45. The story broke, and Kristi Noem had her purse stolen at Easter dinner in a D.C. restaurant. And of course, she's under Secret Service protection. So let me go through the story, and then I'm going to share my thoughts and ask you some questions about this, because this is so disturbing. This is in the Gateway Pundit, but it was reported by CNN, Fox News, and all the other major news outlets. Here's the headline. Department of Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem robbed by masked man in D.C. restaurant. In an appalling security breach, Kristi Noem was robbed by a masked man in a D.C. restaurant. Kristi Noem has Secret Service protection, but a masked man was able to snatch her purse while she dined at a restaurant Sunday night. Now, I want to tell you this. As a cabinet secretary, Kristi Noem has Secret Service protection, but she has a larger detail than most cabinet officials. Okay, and the reason is she is leading the largest deportation in U.S. history, and she's taking on two major international terrorist organizations, MS-13 and Trinidad de Agua. So she just doesn't have one or two Secret Service agents with her. She has a massive detail, which is probably equal in size, at least, to the vice president's detail, maybe even larger. The thief took off with Kristi Noem's purse, which included $3,000 in cash, her passport, her Department of Homeland Security badge, and other valuables. Secret Service is investigating the incident. The Secret Service, which provides security for Kristi Noem, reviewed security camera footage at the restaurant and saw an unknown white male wearing a medical mask steal her bag and leave the restaurant. That was reported by CNN, who originally broke the story. The thief got away with Kristi Noem's driver's license, medication, apartment keys, passport, Department of Homeland Security access badge, a makeup bag, blank check, so they got her checkbook, and about $3,000 in cash, CNN reported. Now, this story is widely reported. Fox News reported this yesterday, and basically all they've reported is what I've just shared. No updates. And I have three major stories, of which this is one of them, and a lot of other important stories that we're going to cover on the program. And in the morning, when I do my show prep, one of the most difficult things can be sometimes is what story to lead with. I got this big update on Garcia, a major, major update on the most recent Trump assassin, the Kristi Noem robbery, and a few other stories. So why would I lead with the Kristi Noem robbery? Well, I'll tell you why. This is an insanely massive breach of security. As I said, she's got a massive Secret Service detail. How did this happen? Was this a robbery? Just a regular robbery and a purse snatching? Or was this some type of deep state op? And I believe it was most likely a deep state op. And I'll explain why, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on this at 1-888-465-2631. Kristi Noem, the reason she had $3,000, she was having Easter dinner with her family, with her kids and grandkids, and she was going to give everybody money for Easter. And she's rich. Remember, she had that $50,000 watch at the El Salvador prison. So she's rich. $3,000 with all the kids and grandkids she has is, it's not that much to her. But I don't think they were after that. I think this was an op that was after her cell phone. And we don't know where the purse was in the restaurant. We don't know if it was under the table, under the chair, on the table, next to a chair. We don't know if Kristi Noem took a break to the ladies' room and left her purse on the floor in the stall and it was taken. Was she in the ladies' room and left her purse on the sink in the ladies' room? And we don't know. We don't know. But, you're a purse snatcher in D.C., in a D.C. Restaurant. You know that this person is under Secret Service protection because the Secret Service are there. Okay? It's a very high-risk crime for not a lot of gain. I think they were after her cell phone. And as I said, none of the articles tell us if they got the cell phone or not. No one's even asked. She's a married woman, Kristi Noem. They have been promoting this story for a year that she's having an extramarital affair with Corey Lewandowski. And over the Easter weekend, the fake news media was pushing that story more. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they were pushing this Corey Lewandowski story, having an affair with Kristi Noem, talking about a job she wanted him to have at Homeland and the job that he does have, and he's the de facto chief of staff for Homeland Security, even though he has another title. And I believe this is very likely a government op to get her cell phone to try to find some incriminating text messages or emails between her and Corey Lewandowski. Remember, they went after Mike Lindell in an FBI raid and they got his cell phone. They thought they'd find something on it. Obviously, they didn't because he was never arrested and we didn't hear anything leaked in the press. The break-in of Mar-a-Lago was not about classified records. That was a cover story. The powers that be in the corrupt Biden regime had gotten in their head that President Trump in his personal safe at Mar-a-Lago had a binder. And in that binder were records that showed that Barack Obama illegally authorized the wiretapping on Trump Tower and a surveillance program against President Trump that went on even after he was president in the West Wing. That's why when they broke into Mar-a-Lago, they brought a safecracker with them. They did. Remember, it was reported at the time. And they did break into the president's safe, which had nothing in it but his passport. But they convinced themselves that there was this binder that had this incriminating evidence about Obama. So whether or not the story about her and Corey Lewandowski is true, I don't know. They spend a lot of time together. He works for her. I don't know. I really don't care. But these Trump derangement syndrome sufferers, they believe all their own nonsense. And they convince themselves of things. And to them, the affair with Corey Lewandowski is real, whether it is or not. but they have no evidence to prove it. But if they grab her phone, they might find some incriminating text messages or emails from Corey Lewandowski. So I want to ask you guys this question. We're coming up on our first break of this Tuesday morning edition of Florida's longest running radio show. And our toll-free number is 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Do you believe that this was a random purse snatching on Kristi Noem with her huge Secret Service detail, or was this some type of deep state op? The only other possibilities is that it was Trinidad Agua and MS-13 operatives, but I believe it was a deep state op, most likely. What do you think? I want to hear your thoughts on this. Am I nuts? Does this make sense to you? How could something like this happen with her large Secret Service detail? White guy in a mask, a surgical mask? Come on. How'd this happen? 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Now, after the break, I'm going to go through some more details on this story and take your calls. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Was this a random purse snatching or a deep state op against Kristi Noem? We'll be right back. It is insane. Insane. Wait till I get to the update on the Trump assassin. Oh my goodness. Crazy. Crazy. Completely insane. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm going to go through this story too on it, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. I mean, this is the question: is it a Secret Service failure, or were they a part of the operation? Right? That's what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. We'll be back in just over a minute. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We're in a radio station break right now. No, this story, no one's really talking about this story but me, but I don't care. I think it's that important. It's that important. Mm-hmm. The robbery is true. Kristi Noem confirmed the purse snatching at the Easter egg roll yesterday. She confirmed it. If you're on hold, hang in there. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. What we're talking about, if you're on hold, stand by. What we're talking about is the purse snatching, the robbery of Kristi Noem at Easter dinner at a D.C. restaurant. And really what we're asking here is, was this a failure of the Secret Service, or were they a part of an operation? Remember, the Secret Service, President Trump was shot by a guy in clear sight, okay, in Butler, and then a couple weeks later, there was another assassin at the golf course here in Florida. So, you know, is the Secret Service that incompetent or not? Think about it. I want you to think about it. And, you know, this, Kristi Noem is right up there with somebody that they want to get out. They're very desperate to get Trump to fire a cabinet official. They've been working very hard on this. They're after Pete Hegseth. They're after her. But one of the reasons they're after Kristi Noem is, you know, they are desperate to get somebody that's part of the establishment in the administration, because they've not been able to disrupt and there's not leaks. But also, they want to disrupt the deportations that are going on. There's a part of that. And if they were to get her cell phone, and they would find that embarrassing emails or texts between her and Corey Lewandowski, they could attempt to use it for blackmail or to discredit her, to slow down these deportations that she's the leader of as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Nothing could convince me this is a random purse snatching. No way. No way. How'd the guy get out? And how many people are walking around with surgical masks on these days in restaurants in D.C.? All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Jeff from Maine.
Hey, Jeff, what's up?
Hey, the only way someone could get away with that is if her detail was in on it. There's no way that should have happened.
Yeah.
And let alone if it was the deep state, would they not have used a professional? And if it's a government phone, I don't care if you turn the thing off, they can track it.
She may have two phones.
Try to download some information onto it or off it.
She may have two phones. She may have her government phone and a personal phone. Who knows? But the idea, and I would say this sounds pretty professional. He went into a restaurant, snatched the purse from somebody with a major security detail of the Secret Service. That's there's no way that's random. Who would do that? What kind of purse snatcher?
Right.
You see the Secret Service all over the joint.
And that's, who would just average Joe off the street try to take her purse?
Yeah.
I can't believe that it was random.
No, it's too high risk of a crime with too little potential payout. That's it. I mean, it just is.
The problem with it is these people that are that desperate to go after Trump's cabinets, I believe the biggest problem we're having is with the judges. And we have a real problem.
Well, I don't want to get sidetracked into that today. But hey, Jeff, I appreciate the call, though. I don't want to get sidetracked on the other issues. I've got some other big stories I'm going to get to later in the show, but I want to continue with this. So this is the Daily Mail's version of the purse snatching of Kristi Noem under a massive, large Secret Service protection detail. President Donald Trump's Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, was robbed on Easter Sunday despite her Secret Service protection in a stunning breach of security. Kristi Noem had a bag taken, that's her purse, as she was out dining in a restaurant in Washington, D.C., CNN reported. Dubbed Ice Barbie for her many law enforcement-related outfits, the secretary's bag, which included her makeup, was stolen, according to two sources familiar with the matter. One law enforcement source disclosed to CNN there were plenty of valuables in the bag. An unidentified thief was able to take off with Kristi Noem's driver's license, medication, house keys, passport, Department of Homeland Security security badge, makeup bag, blank checks, and roughly $3,000 in cash, according to a source. After reviewing the restaurant's security footage, the Secret Service determined that Kristi Noem's bag was snatched by a white man in a medical mask who then exited the restaurant. Noem, speaking to the press at the White House Easter roll yesterday, confirmed the incident. A spokesperson with Homeland Security confirmed the incident in an email. Hold on, I lost. I just lost the article, but that's a little bit more information confirmed by the Secret Service. All right, let's take some more calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Brian. Chris from Pompano Beach.
Hey, Chris.
I'm I'm up here doing my laundry early before I start my day, and I'm listening to the show, and I can't believe my ears.
No.
I mean, if this doesn't scare every American citizen, regardless of party affiliation, nothing will, because obviously we know about proven deep state, operations earlier, but this involves the Secret Service itself.
And because, all cabinet members have Secret Service, but she's involved in taking on Trinidad Agua and MS-13 in this massive deportation effort. So she has a very large detail. She does not have the normal detail. She has enhanced security because of what they just arrested that leader of East Coast MS-13, remember? It is beyond my imagination that this could be a random purse snatching with a security detail that large.
100%. In fact, the more random, the more this person would have been caught, because they would have no idea who was Secret Service, who's not, and what have you. This, all eyes on her. I'm talking about even in the ladies' room, there's been a female Secret Service agent.
Correct.
Only eyes would be inside the stall.
That's right.
So there's no way someone gets close enough to do that. Let's say they do. There's no way to get away with it.
So it sounds like it sounds like oops, sorry about that. It's are you back with us, Chris? No.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. It sounds to me that it was an op, and that Secret Service was involved in it.
They would have to be, and not just one agent either, because there's more than one pair of eyes on this particular person, Kristi Noem. But no, this is scary.
And let me tell you, this story broke about 12:45 yesterday, and there was reporting on Fox and CNN and the mainstream. There have been no updates since about 10 minutes to 12 yesterday. And that's why I led with this story today. I've got some big stories I'm going to cover on today's program, but I led with this because of how disturbing it is, but it even made me more suspicious when I saw that the Washington, D.C. media, they're not covering the story, they're not asking any questions, no one's asked about the cell phone or any details of this. There's a media cover-up of this story going on.
No, this is huge, and even what little coverage there has been, it's been so abstract. I mean, it's downsized already with that vague. I know we got to get details and everything, but that's absolutely unacceptable, and this is getting ridiculous. So this is who we're dealing with. These people with so much to hide. So I call them desperate people.
Yep, that's right. They're very desperate. Desperate.
Administration. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. All right, I got to run for the break, but some good points, Chris. I appreciate the call. If you're on hold, hang in there. We're going to take our bottom of the hour break and be right back. Mm-hmm. Oh, the coffee went down the wrong way. We'll be back in about a minute. The coffee went down the wrong way there. Yeah, I mean, this is very, very disturbing with Kristi Noem. Very disturbing. Mm-hmm. Wait till you hear the update I have on the new Trump assassin. I mean, this is nuts. All of a sudden, all these trolls are financial experts and financial planners. Stand by. Less than 30 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. I'm going to go to the phones, and if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the Kristi Noem Easter purse snatching. Was this a random purse snatching, or was this an op? I believe it's most likely an op. All right. Our number 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Can you hear me all right?
I can.
Okay, I can't hear you too well.
Well,
Listen, I called you a long time ago, and I'm the C-130 pilot, but I didn't mention it before. I was with the CIA for 5 years. So with my experience with them flying and also working at an American embassy overseas, I won't say the location, but I've just got to tell you that I really think that purse that was stolen was definitely an inside job.
you think it was a government op, a deep state op?
Absolutely. I can't mention the things that I've done before, but I was with them for years, like I said, and I was all over the world doing different chores. Let's put it that way.
Well, what makes you, as a former CIA guy, what makes you think that this purse snatching on Kristi Noem was a government operation?
Well, because of my experience with the CIA, they'll do almost anything if they have to.
Yeah, pretty scary. Pretty scary.
I hope you believe me, because
I do.
I've done a lot of things I can't talk about.
Okay, well, leave them in your book that you leave after you pass. All right, appreciate the call. So here we got a guy, retired former CIA, even agreeing that this was some type of deep state op. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Brian.
Yes. Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Terry. I am from Kentucky. I've called you one other time. As a retired military guy, and hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got a bad feedback. I'm sorry. You know, when all this happened with President Trump, you know, as far as the assassination attempt and all that stuff, and now what's going on with Kristi Noem, among other things, you know, the Mar-a-Lago deal and all that, you know, if it could happen to the most secure persons in the United States of America, I'm fearful what could happen to a normal human being.
Well, so you believe that the Kristi Noem purse snatching was a deep state operation?
I believe that it was either a deep state operation or a bad failure. But with what went on, you know, with President Trump, you know, the assassinations attempts, the Mar-a-Lago raid,
Yeah.
you know, I just don't know what to believe at this point. The only thing I know that we all better watch what we're doing. And
All right, appreciate the call. Yeah, I would agree with that. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah. Good morning, Brian. This is Richie.
Hey, Richie.
I'd like to. You might remember this because you're a lot younger than I am. But do you remember yesterday's nightclub up in Fort Lauderdale?
Of course.
Yeah, there were 3 bars in yesterday's. Okay, and there was a. I could say this: there was a gentleman that came in and they closed off a complete section of yesterday's. They set up a perimeter around the bar. Nobody could get within 20 feet of this guy, and the place was packed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that was John Gotti.
Oh.
Now nobody could tell me, and I was up there that night. Nobody could tell me that Kristi Noem, Secret Service has to have a perimeter around her.
Yep.
She might be in a public restaurant, but she's completely isolated from the public. They know she's in there. They basically surround her because they don't want her assassinated either.
So what do you think happened here? You think this was a government deep state op and the Secret Service was a party to it?
150%. Besides that, you're in Washington, D.C. Don't tell me you don't have a camera every 25 feet in Washington, D.C., especially in an area with all those dignitaries.
So what do you think? What do you think they were after? What do you think they were after? I think her cell phone, but what do you think they were after?
100% her phone, because you and I could get her cell phone and not be able to get into it. They can hack a cell phone, especially government people who know codes.
Mm-hmm.
They know certain codes that government officials have. You know, to me, they're trying to take down this cabinet. I mean, obviously, I mean, they're not.
Yep.
They're trying to take the cabinet down. It's like every day. It's who's the dinner of the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they go after. So I believe you're right on this, and nobody's going to pick this.
Well,
up.
you know, the fact, and again, I've got the next story I'm going to get to is on the most recent Trump assassin in just a bit, and I got a big story on Garcia too. And the reason I led with this story is because the media, they reported it when it first happened at about 11:45 yesterday. There have been no updates, and there's hardly any stories about it this morning. And the only stories there are copy and pasted from the 11:45 a.m. story yesterday. They don't want to ask questions. There's a cover-up, which makes me even more suspicious.
Oh yeah, to me, this whole inside of this government. It comes down to President Trump. This Kristi Noem personage has to do it.
They convince themselves of things. They've convinced they believe that she's having an extramarital affair with Corey Lewandowski. And I got to tell you, Kristi Noem's pretty hot. If she's going to have an affair, it's going to be with Corey Lewandowski. He's a nice guy. I've had him on the show, but he's weird looking. But they convince themselves it's true whether or not it is, and they want some material on that. And they've convinced themselves that there's some text messages or emails that they could either blackmail or embarrass her with.
I think it could be that, but I also think it's also some of the secrets that could be on her phone that are amongst the president of the United States.
Yeah, there's no leaks going on. There's no leaks out of this White House. No leaks.
No, they get into his phone. They get into everything. It opens the gun. It's better than hacking a personal computer.
And nobody is even not one reporter is asked if they got her cell phone. Not one. Which tells me they did probably.
Oh yeah, this. Listen, you can't tell me the guy got out of the restaurant and they did. Now they can tell you what car he got into. They can have cameras all the way where he drove, who picked him up, license plates.
They know who he is.
Washington D.C. Absolutely.
It wouldn't surprise. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if he was the pipe bomber. You know, it wouldn't.
Yeah, the pipe bomber. That's what I was going to tell you. They know who the pipe bomber is too. They also know who put the cocaine in the White House.
That's right.
They have to know. They got.
Of course, they know.
This is. Oh, the whole thing is just disgustingly. Really.
All right, Richie. I appreciate the call. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad that people out there are agreeing with me on this, because you see everything they've done to President Trump and those around him. And sometimes maybe I'm getting a little paranoid, but no, this is not paranoia. It's reality. And those of you out there agreeing with me on the Kristi Noem purse snatching certainly confirms that my suspicions are very well founded. You know, there's a big move going on against the Trump administration on many levels. They've got a very loyal cabinet. There's no leaks. And they don't have anyone inside the cabinet that can sabotage like they had in the first term. That's why they're trying to get rid of people. They want to get rid of Pete Hegseth so they can plug in Kristi Noem or DeSantis or someone. They want to get rid of Kristi Noem so somebody else can get plugged in that can either leak or disrupt. See, the establishment Republicans, those are the Bush Republicans, they know Trump only has this last term. I know Bannon's talking about a third term. Unless there's a constitutional amendment, that ain't going to happen. So what the Bush Republican establishment are doing is they're making moves to be in place thinking they can come back to power after Trump's term is up. That's what's going on. Why do you think Ann Coulter's out there praising Trump on C-SPAN? She's trying to get invited into the mix. You think the Republican establishment just said, well, the MAGA Republicans have taken over? No. They have been conspiring, they're lying in wait, and they're making big moves. This is one of them. And that's right. They get into her phone, they're into everything. Now, she may have two phones. She may have a government phone and a personal phone. But why the press aren't asking about this is because they know what we're talking about is most likely true. That this is some type of deep state op. Now, after the next break, I'm going to get into one of the news stories. I'm not sure if I'm going to get into the Trump assassin or the Garcia update. I think I'll do the Garcia update because there is a big one on that. And then at the top of the hour, I'll have to recap this story, the Kristi Noem purse snatching. But there's a big update on the most recent Trump assassin. Last week, there was another guy who was arrested for plotting a third assassination attempt on the president. And there's a new piece to the puzzle that is very disturbing. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about Friendly Tire in Margate. Friendly Tire in Margate have been with us on the Steve Kane Show for at least a decade, but I've been a customer there for close to 20 years. They have thousands of good used tires in stock, but Friendly Tire in Margate has the lowest prices on new tires you will find anywhere. We have listeners that drive an hour each way just to get tires at Friendly Tire. The prices are that good. You know, a lot of our listeners, they drive to Florida on vacation. They buy tires at Friendly Tire in Margate. Some of our cruisers drive from out of state to Florida for the cruise. On the way here or the way back, they stop at Friendly Tire in Margate and get new tires. We've even had listeners get new tires and then buy a second set they keep in the garage in New York. It's amazing. He has all the name brands you know and love: Bridgestone, Firestone, Pirelli, any of the name brands you love. And you can get any type of tire for any type of vehicle you need. Now remember, Friendly Tire in Margate, when you call Friendly Mike, I'm going to give you the number in a moment, he'll quote you a price right over the phone. That price is out the door and on the road. And what I mean by that is Friendly Tire does not charge you to balance the tire, mount the tire, or even dispose of your old tires. All right, so give Friendly Mike a call. His number is 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. That's 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jared from New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey. What's up?
Yeah, I was just wondering, did you cover that the FSU shooter was a MAGA Trump supporter?
That is not true. And even if it is true, what's the significance of it?
Because it's important to cover, like if you're covering that Kristi Noem, was purse snatched or something like that. It's important to cover that these, anecdotal pieces of violence.
No, in fact, there were people that knew him that said he was rabid anti-Trump. The Florida State University shooter is obviously a crazy person, and
he was pictured with a MAGA hat though, and he was
sure,
interviewed,
sure,
like,
sure. But his friends have also said he hated Trump. But let's say he had a MAGA hat and he was a MAGA guy. What's the significance? What's the significance of that to you? Notice how this dope on the phone is trying to divert from the purse snatching of Kristi Noem. But tell us what the significance
I
is.
like statistics. So according to the Center
You
for
like
Strategic
statistics,
International
yeah.
Study, excuse me. According to the Center of Strategic and International Studies, over the past couple of years, it's very, very clear that the majority of domestic terrorism that occurs in this country is because of far right extremism.
Okay, now stop right there. Stop right there. The majority of the electorate are MAGA people, right? Because Trump just won a national election. He won every battleground state and even flipped about 10 or 12 counties in California red. So the majority of voters are MAGA people. When you have a sample size, hold on a second here, Mr. Statistics. I'm going to make a point for you to respond to. When you have a sample size that large, there will be people in it that do all kinds of things. If you went to our maximum security prisons in America and looked at the violent felons that are incarcerated in our maximum security prisons, rapists and murderers, what would be the skin color of the majority of them?
Can I respond to all that?
Respond to what I just asked. What would be the skin color of...
Yeah, it would probably be the majority of incarcerated people are people of color.
Black people. So because, okay, so if the majority, let me ask you, because you're into this MAGA hat wearing guy at FSU, if the majority, and you're in the statistics, you know, Steve Kane has a great saying, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. I love that phrase. If the majority of violent felons in America's maximum security prisons are black, would it be right or wrong to assume that all black men are violent criminals who may rape or murder or rob you at gunpoint, or not? Or would that be an unfair stereotype?
What you would have to do is analyze the material.
Don't have to analyze it. We got the data. I just asked you the question. You just don't like the answer.
Excuse me.
Answer the question.
I'm trying to give you an answer. You're not letting me talk.
No, you're avoiding an answer. You're avoiding an answer.
I just told you I agree. I just told you what you would do with that information, as I'm trying to do.
No, but would you assume that all black people are violent criminals that are dangerous because of the incarceration rate?
I don't assume that all Trump.
No, but you called in, and said, well, this shooter had a MAGA hat on in this one video or a photograph, so that's some statement on MAGA. So that's one guy. There's 1 million black men in prison in America today. So should people be scared of black men?
Because of the material conditions, I think a lot of people are scared of certain areas that they go.
No, should people be afraid of black men, or is that an unfair stereotype?
I don't think people should be afraid of Trump supporters.
All right, okay, appreciate the call. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm Brian Craig. We'll be right back. Isn't that something? What'd you guys think of that call? If you're on hold, hang in there. What would be your take on that call in the chat, guys? What are your thoughts on that call? Country Carpenter said, I'm good with callers. Thank you very much. One MAGA guy, the guy's not MAGA, but you know, the Trump assassin, they had him in a MAGA hat. I mean, come on. We'll be back in less than a minute, guys. Less than a minute. If you're on hold, hang in there. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. All right, back to our phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing? I'm Ralph. I'm in Alabama.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go, Mike. Yeah, go ahead, Alabama. You called me. What's on your mind?
So, hang on, I'm adjusting my volume here. Hang on.
Maybe you can adjust your brain waves. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, I agree with you. I think, I do think it was a setup.
Are you talking about the Kristi Noem purse snatching?
I am.
All right.
So, I agree with you. All right? The only thing that's going through my head is that I think she made it.
Okay, all right. I don't think much is going through his head. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. This is Bill from Sanford.
Hey, Bill.
What I don't understand, you probably know more than I would. Have there been any interviews of the manager, the servers, the patrons?
They haven't even confirmed the restaurant. There's been a story or two that name a restaurant, but that has not even been confirmed.
But there has to. People know what restaurant they were. I'm pretty sure that had to be leaked out someplace.
The media are not interested. The media are not interested in reporting it.
This thing stinks. It doesn't make sense. And another thing.
Well, okay, you're talking about the Kristi Noem purse snatching. So what do you think happened?
Oh, I think it was an inside job.
For what purpose?
It had to be. Like you talked about, to get her cell phones. That's what I would think.
I agree.
That makes sense more than anything else. But she may have had a weapon in her purse also. We don't know about that.
Possible.
So we're not getting the story on this, and nobody seems to be interested other than you. I mean, so far this morning.
Well, that's why I'm covering it. It's not trending on social media. There have been no updates on the story since noon. Any story you see is just a copy, repaste, plagiarism of the original CNN story that came out about 11:45 yesterday. And I find that insane.
Well, I'm amazed
very
at the
suspicious
silence of no witnesses.
Is it silence or a cover-up? I think it's a cover-up.
Well, that could be also. But anyways, it's a great show this morning.
All right, appreciate the call. But aren't they great every morning? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
You're horrified of a detailed conversation.
Oh, you're Mr. Statistics. I had to take a break. It's one call per day. And open phones are on Friday. And
You're
talking about...
cut me off for no reason.
I know I cut you off. No, that's not true. This is a losing conversation. I cut you off because it was time for a commercial break.
You cut me off because you're horrified of a detailed
No,
conversation.
I had to take a commercial... No, excuse me. I had to take a commercial break, which I took late. I kept you past the break time, and it's one call per day. So call me tomorrow, okay, with your statistics. Oh, my goodness. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Nick from North Florida.
Nick in Florida. What's up?
Yeah, this Kristi Noem thing. One thing you haven't mentioned, I don't think it happened anyway, is she had $3,000 in that purse, what they're saying. And, you know, when you go to a restaurant with your wife and she got her purse, does she leave it anywhere?
We don't know.
No, it's right
Nobody,
on the ground.
nobody in the media have asked. We don't know where the purse was stolen
Right.
from. We don't know.
That's what I mean. If she wasn't holding it because she, you know.
Listen, I got a bad connect. Your cell phone's cutting in and out. I'm only hearing like half of every word, but you make a good point. All right, I appreciate the call. The little bit I could hear. I can think of nothing more terminally boring than having a discussion on statistics on the program. Okay, but I asked the guy a good question, and you didn't like the answer, so we tried to divert. Now, after the top of the hour break, there are two other stories that I'm going to cover. There's an update on the Garcia fake Maryland man story. Something came out yesterday, and I want to play you some audio, and I've not heard this before, and it adds something to the story. Also, there's a major update on the third Trump assassin that was arrested last week, which we're going to get into as well. But if you're just tuning in and you're wondering what we're talking about involving Kristi Noem had her purse stolen at Easter dinner at a restaurant in D.C. The purse had in it, according to CNN, her Department of Homeland Security badge, $3,000, her medications, her checkbook, her driver's license, her passport, and the keys to wherever she's living in D.C. Very little updates on this. In fact, there's zero updates. We got the original story, which broke about 11:45 a.m. yesterday morning. She was asked about it by a reporter at the Easter egg roll at the White House yesterday, and Kristi Noem confirmed it. I believe that it was a deep state op to try to get a hold of Kristi Noem's cell phone. They have been floating a story that she's having an extramarital affair with Corey Lewandowski. There were even stories over Easter weekend alleging it, and they've been promoting this story for quite a while. I think that they were looking for embarrassing confirmation information, text or emails between her and Corey Lewandowski. Richard the bus driver made a good point that they also may be looking for some communications inside the Trump team. That's true as well. You got to understand, this Trump cabinet is tight. They're friends. They've known each other for years. They're MAGA. They're loyal to President Trump, and there's no leaks coming out. And there's no establishment cabinet members like in Trump's first term that are sabotaging him like in the first term. And these people are getting desperate. They want Hegseth out. They want her out. Okay? So that's what we've been talking about in the first hour. Now, the other couple of stories I'm going to get to in after the top of the hour break. I'm not sure which one I'm going to start with. I may start with the Garcia story. I want to talk about Mike Lindell at MyPillow.com. Now, I've been telling you guys the new energy drink, which I have, and it's delicious, comes in 3 flavors, lemonade, green apple, and blueberry, Rev 7. You can get a free 3-pack at MyPillow.com, so you can try out the new Mike Lindell My Pillow energy drink with our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. And it's a pretty good offer. Also, there's all kinds of specials going on right now. The My Pillow slippers, normally $149.98. That's how much I paid for my slippers. They're just $59.98 with my promo code KANE at checkout. They have styles for both men and women. They have the moccasins, which are cool. They also have the slip-ons in many different colors. They even have pink for the ladies. And they have a bunch of new sizes, okay? They have small sizes for children and women. And there's also big and wide sizes for the big men out there as well at MyPillow.com. And remember, you can use our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, on all the specials at MyPillow.com, not just the ones I talk about. You can also order by phone toll-free, 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Jim Cagney. How you doing?
Oh, okay. You like the name. All right. What's on your mind today?
Yo, so I've been thinking more about what you said yesterday, and I did a little digging.
What, that you're a worthless caller?
Y'all have been saying that this Garcia guy is MS-13, right? That's
No,
what you
he
guys
said
been
he
saying?
says he's MS-13 on his tats, on his hand, on his fingers.
Well, I mean, that's not really a good way to determine that, right?
Really? Who would
That's
get
not
it? Who
really
would
how
get a
gang
tattoo?
tattoos
Who
work.
would get an
It
MS-13
was
tattoo
like a secret
on their
code
fingers?
thing, but that's
Yes.
not how gangs do tattoos. They
Yes,
just
it
put
is.
their name on the thing. Full
Oh, really?
front.
You're a
There's
gang
no
expert?
secret
You're a
code, you know?
gang expert?
And then you got the fact that, like, you go back and ICE was saying one thing, they were saying another.
No, they were saying the same thing consistently. I mean, my goodness, who would get MS-13 tattoos on their fingers other than an MS-13 member? In fact, if you're not MS-13 and you have the tattoos, they'll kill you. Okay? Can't go around with gang tats around and hang out with gang members from that gang and you're not a member. They'll kill you. Okay? So, you know, that the tattoo is his confession. All right, 1 hour down, 2 to go. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. My name is Brian Craig. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, please do. Our number's toll free, 1-888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you're located. We'll be back right after our top of the hour break. Right. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Hour number 2 has begun. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. Okay, we got some big stories today. I will recap later in the program the Kristi Noem purse snatching incident. And pretty much every caller, except these couple liberal lunatics, believe it was a deep state op against Kristi Noem to get her cell phone. They agree with me on that. We'll go through that again later in the program. I've got 2 other big stories. One's on Garcia, and there's a super big update on the 3rd Trump assassin that was in the news and arrested last week. I want to first get to the Garcia story. And the reason I'm doing this is there is, this talking point, due process. Now, we all know he had his due process. But Senator Kennedy was on television and dropped something pretty big. Not only did they drop something pretty big, he said it so casually, and this is something that I have never heard, okay? And I don't think any of you have heard, and it involves him getting due process. So let me pull this up. And Senator Kennedy, I've never known him to be inaccurate about anything. Listen. Now, first you're going to hear this idiot Van Hollen, okay? And then you're going to hear Senator Kennedy on Meet the Press on Sunday. I don't know. I didn't see this in the news yesterday. Kennedy saying this on Meet the Press Sunday, but we got it today. Listen.
Anybody who can't stand up for the Constitution and the right of due process doesn't deserve to lead.
Chris says Mr. Garcia's had no due process. He's been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice.
Hear that?
$5 million worth of legal fees, and he hadn't had to pay a dime. Unless you're next level obtuse, you know that Mr. Garcia is never coming back to the United States.
Okay, so Senator Kennedy said that Garcia has been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice. That is brand new information that I've not heard. Even though that was Sunday, I didn't see that Sunday or Monday. So if he's been in front of, and Senator Kennedy, he is right there always with the latest news and information on every issue we're facing. He's very well informed. He wouldn't say that if it weren't true. So now that Garcia, the so-called Maryland man, has been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice, can we dispense with the due process? I mean, how many judges do you get to go in front of? Right? Now, I've only been up in traffic court. I go in front of a magistrate, and then that's it. I don't go to 17 traffic magistrates. I go in front of one traffic judge, and that's my due process. Very amazing story. Huge story from Senator Kennedy. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Hey, this is Bill from Chicago.
Bill in Chicago. What's on your mind?
Let me just give you my background. I'm a 35-year veteran of the Chicago Police Department.
Okay.
Last 25 years as a homicide detective. And I love Trump to death. I was one of the first people in Chicago to put signs up, But there's no but on Trump. He has to take some of these people out. I mean, Kristi Noem, if you look at her, she wears these big fake eyelashes like a porn star, big hoop earrings, her hair in front of the chest. Every law enforcement department I know, you have to have your hair either in a bun or a ponytail on back. I mean, it's ridiculous. She's like useless.
She's useless? Are you kidding me? Now, first of all, she's not a law enforcement officer. She's the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. That's number one. Very different. She's not a police chief, and she's not the head of ICE. She's a cabinet secretary. She's not a cop. okay, or a federal agent.
I understand.
And you say, hold on a second, you said she's useless. We have these prisons in El Salvador filled with Trinidad de Agua and MS-13 terrorists that Kristi Noem has overseen the deportation of. Thousands of them. So how can you say she's useless when she's done so much deportation of these most violent criminals?
Because no officer, female or male,
She's not an officer.
should have. I'm sorry?
She's not an officer. She's a cabinet secretary.
She is.
No.
Homeland Security is part of law enforcement.
Nope. She's a cabinet secretary. She's a civilian leader of a government agency. No, it's big difference. Big difference.
But she should not have all her stuff in a purse.
Should not.
I mean, have all your stuff in a purse, no matter if you're holding it or not, is ridiculous.
Well, we don't know what all was in the purse. So now women that are cabinet secretaries should not have purses?
No, that's not what I'm saying. We know what's in the purse. She already said $3,000 was taken. Her IDs were taken. Her keys to her house were taken. All this stuff is taken. Why would you? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, you know, listen, she is under not just Secret Service protection, because she's involved in these deportations, okay, of millions, and taking on the Trinidad de Agua MS-13 terrorist organizations. She has an extremely large Secret Service detachment, probably equal to J.D. Vance, the vice president, maybe even larger. How does a guy in a mask get close to her and steal her purse when she's under that much Secret Service protection?
I agree with you. And my point is, she had to leave it unattended to have her taken.
Maybe, maybe not. You know, there is nowhere that she would, if she went to the ladies' room, she would have at least one female agent inside with her, and there'd be an agent outside, right? We don't know where the purse was.
Right.
We don't know if the purse was stolen out of the Secret Service vehicle. We don't know if it was at the table, in the ladies' room, under the table. We don't know. None of this information has been released.
It's not the ladies' room, because it's a male with a mask on. He's not going to be able to walk into the ladies' room and take a purse.
Well, he was able to walk into a place with a person with a large detachment of federal Secret Service agents who were supposed to be the elite in this industry, and I saw a photograph of her with the purse. This was not a tiny little purse. This was a big purse. It was literally a bag. I find it impossible to believe that he was able to do that without the Secret Service being a part of it. I think it was an operation by the deep state.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, how does a guy? Here's the deal. I've done a lot of side security on this, in my lifetime. How does a guy walk away with a purse, okay, with a mask on, and no one stops him?
Yeah, which shows that this was an op. I think they were trying to get her cell phone. We don't know if they did or not. I think they were trying to get her cell phone. Why else would they do it?
Her cell phone is locked with a code.
They have master codes to get into it. This is the deep state we're talking about here. We're talking about NSA, CIA. Okay. They can get into any phone, no matter what your code is.
Okay, I'm just giving you my opinion. Sorry.
No, I know. Your opinions are welcome, but you started off by saying that he should fire Kristi Noem. If this was a deep state operation that the Secret Service was involved in, why should Kristi Noem be fired?
I wasn't saying she should be fired because of the theft, okay? But
why should she be fired?
Really?
Because she's hot?
Of course she's hot, okay?
So that's why she should be fired?
Well, I would just, if I was Trump, I would say dress a little bit more appropriate. Don't dress like you're going out to the bar,
I don't see her. Listen, Kristi Noem could wear a potato sack and she'd still look hot, okay? There's no way for her there's no way for you not to be attracted to her. There's nothing. Hey, I appreciate the call, and It's nice to hear from a retired Chicago PD detective. That's pretty cool. I watch Chicago PD every week. I love that show. And you've been in.
Yeah,
You've
I
been.
was
You,
on that show.
oh, were
I
you?
did 17 episodes.
Really? What I've seen? I've
Yes.
seen you in it? Did you speak or
Here's
background?
a story on, I'll make it real quick. Chicago PD and Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
Anybody you see in the background who's in a uniform, they actually use real firemen and use policemen.
Oh, I had no idea.
And because we have the uniforms and everything already, so they just hired us.
Oh, that's pretty cool. All right. Well, I'm sure I've seen you 17 times because I've seen every episode. Hey, listen, thanks for the call, and I do welcome, even though we disagree, you're on this a little bit. You're always welcome to call. You're a good caller.
We're not disagreeing. The only thing you disagree on is I'm saying,
Listen, I gotta run for the break, but call me again. All right. Take care. Good caller, and I think he added to the conversation. I'll take one more call, then we'll break. What the heck? I shouldn't, but I'm going to. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Renee from Harlem.
Hey, Renee.
Hey, I've been listening to you guys. You're kind of funny.
Wait, you know what, Renee? I'm gonna put you. I'm late for the break. I'm gonna put you on hold. I never do. I do this very rarely. I'm gonna take you after the break so you have enough time to spew your venom. So hang in there. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be back in just over a minute. Good calls today. You got to call the number that's on the pinned in the chat. You call that number, you can get on the air. I don't know if you can call that number on WhatsApp. I don't use WhatsApp. You can try. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. I did something I rarely do. I held someone over through the break. Renee from Harlem. What's on your mind, Renee?
Yeah, I've been listening to you bloviate about this idiot, Kristi Noem, who's gotten her purse stolen. And I think it's kind of typical of the intellectual capacity of your DUI, because you guys aren't even DEI, you're DUI. You're incompetent idiots.
Oh, okay.
She got her purse stolen.
What's the D stand for?
Trump is leaving top secret documents.
We're
in his
incompetent?
bathroom.
What? I don't know what incompetent means. You mean incompetent?
No, I didn't say incompetent. I didn't say, man, you got to pay attention.
D-U...
This is what I'm saying. I didn't say that.
What did you say?
I said she's leaving confident instruments in her purse.
We don't know that.
He's leaving documents in his bathroom.
Mm.
And he's complaining that people are going and taking government documents back. I mean, the incompetence.
So let me. Okay, so Renee, I'm so glad I held you over. We could have dispensed with this stupidity before the break. Okay, so Kristi Noem, who is under the protection of a large detail of federal agents from the Secret Service, it's her fault that she had her purse stolen, not the Secret Service.
It is her fault.
How's it her fault when she's under this massive security detail?
She's not keeping track of her stuff.
Not keeping track of her stuff. That's interesting.
That's how those things happen.
You don't at least think that the Secret Service was incompetent and failed?
No, I think she was incompetent.
Oh, this is Trump derangement syndrome. Trump derangement syndrome. Trump derangement syndrome. You know, I'm glad you called because I wanted to share something. I ordered a book on Easter, and it came yesterday. I started reading it last night. The biography of Harriet Tubman. And it's a very good book. You should get this book. You should really get this book. You know who Harriet Tubman was, right?
Oh, I've heard her name somewhere.
You don't know who she is?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my.
Dude,
how can you be an American? Right? How can you be an American and not know Harriet Tubman, especially a black American?
Try and tell me who Harriet Tubman is.
Tell me who she is.
Of all people,
who is she?
Tell me a thing.
Who is she?
Give me a break.
Yeah, but I am by ending the call. Oh my goodness. How is someone alive in America not familiar with Harriet Tubman? She's one of the most famous Americans who ever lived. Holy smokes. Especially a black American. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, good morning.
Yes, you're on the air.
Oh, hey, this is Joan from Tampa Bay.
Hey,
How
Joan.
you doing?
All right.
All right, I got to tell you, in the early 1980s, I worked in Washington, D.C., okay? I actually worked in a restaurant on the Potomac, all right? You know, sometimes these big shots would come in. I didn't know who they were at that time. At that time, I was in my 20s. I didn't care who they were. All these people come in with these suits, and, you know, they search the area. They do whatever. They put these important people in a private area, and then leading to that area, there are those people in the suits watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So, how could somebody steal somebody's purse?
Because I believe this was a deep state op to get a hold of her cell phone. That's what I think.
I believe so as well, because I've seen what happens in a restaurant in D.C. with important people with Secret Service.
And her purse, there are photographs of her with this purse. It is a bag. It is huge. It's like as big as a shopping bag. You know, and the idea that this masked white man walked in and out of that restaurant with that purse with the Secret Service it doesn't pass the proverbial smile test.
No, it doesn't. No, it stinks to holy heaven.
Yeah.
It stinks.
And I find it a major confirmation of our suspicions that the media are not covering the story. They're covering it up. I'm the only one talking about this.
Oh, and by the way, the reason I went up there is I went to see all the Smithsonian.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the first job I could get, and that was a restaurant on the Potomac that was owned by, I think it was Marriott Corporation back then. And I also saw the plane go in the Potomac while I was at work. And
oh, my goodness.
It was on the Potomac.
Oh, you're talking about that Air Florida flight?
Yes.
Oh, that was like 81, right? Something like that?
No, 82.
82, okay. I was a little kid. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, but I was there, and you could see all the rescue from the windows.
Mm-hmm.
The restaurant was on the Potomac. But
Yeah.
anyway.
All right, well, I appreciate the call. You definitely, like many of our callers today, have added a lot to the conversation. And it seems there is an overwhelming majority of people that believe this was an op to get her phone. And the reason for the phone, I believe, is they've convinced themselves that there's some dirty talk or something that'll confirm an extramarital affair between her and Corey Lewandowski. Now, if you're just tuning in and wondering what we're talking about, because I opened with this at 6, Kristi Noem was in a D.C. restaurant with her family on Easter and had her very large purse stolen by a white guy in a surgical mask, even though she is under heavy Secret Service protection. The story broke about 11:45 yesterday. There have been no updates since then. Any story you've seen is a copy and paste plagiarism story from the original story from 11:45 a.m. yesterday. Okay? The press are not asking questions nor following up. They're involved in, I believe, a cover-up of this story. They have been promoting a story that Kristi Noem is having an extramarital affair with Corey Lewandowski for about a year. Over the Easter weekend, there were stories about this, okay? And some of the mainstream press. There was even a story that she gave him a job that he shouldn't have in the White House. The Trump White House didn't want him to have this job because of their relationship. There's been no proof, no evidence of an extramarital affair with her and Corey Lewandowski. But they still report the story all the time. And these people, these Trump derangement syndrome sufferers, convince themselves of a lot of things. They convince themselves it's true. I don't know if it's true or not, but they'll find the proof in the cell phone, just like they broke in to President Trump's house at Mar-a-Lago, not for classified documents, but to get in his safe because they believe that he had this Obama binder that would incriminate Obama into authorizing the illegal spying on Trump Tower. That's why they broke into Mar-a-Lago, with a safe cracker, by the way. And they did break into his personal safe in Mar-a-Lago. This is a similar instance. Your thoughts on this are welcome. I'd also like to hear your thoughts on this latest development with Garcia, the fake Maryland man. And also, I got a third story I haven't gotten to yet that I will get to at some point after the break. A major update on the third Trump assassin. But first, I want to ask you this. Do you or someone you know suffer from neuropathy? Oh, man, if you do, I don't have to tell you. Neuropathy is living torture. It really makes life unbearable. The symptoms are god-awful. Numbness, pain, burning, tingling in the hands and feet, muscle weakness, dizziness, falling down all the time. The feeling of pins and needles in the hands and feet. Some have no feeling at all. Your doctors will tell you, this is what Steve's experience, his primary care physician, his neurologist, there's no treatment for neuropathy. That's your life. Go home and learn to deal with the pain and discomfort because that's the rest of your life. Well, we didn't take no for an answer. We looked for help and we found it at Lighthouse Medical Center in Pompano. Lighthouse Medical Center, they have a treatment for neuropathy. They have a treatment that works and a treatment that lasts. Steve had his neuropathy treatment at Lighthouse Medical over 2.5 years ago. His symptoms have not returned. They can help you no matter where you're located in the United States because they understand that, well, there's not treatments everywhere. They have a very unique treatment that works and lasts. But they also understand, even if you're local and you're suffering from neuropathy, it might be difficult, if not impossible, for you to get into the office. So they can help you no matter where you're located. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show so you can take advantage of the no-charge free consultation. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. That's 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. If you're on hold, stand by. We're going to take our bottom of the hour break and be right back. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. Stand by. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. We've covered a lot today. I'll go back and take some of these calls, and I've got a big update on the third Trump assassin that was arrested last week. We're going to get to in just a bit. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
You just made it. I'm all right. How are you?
Mark from Texas.
All right, Mark in Texas. What's on your mind?
I'm with you. Wherever Kristi Noem should have been, if she was in the bathroom, she should have had somebody outside and somebody inside the restroom with her.
Well, as far as we know, she did.
She should have had.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with all of that. Yeah, I mean, she did have security with her. That's the point. The point is she was covered by security. So how did this breach happen? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian, how's it going?
All right, we got a bad connection, but we'll try. You got to call back. Call back. We got a bad connection. We can't not hear you. Okay, now, I did play this earlier. I want to play this again to get some response. This is a clip. First you hear Van Hollen on Meet the Press, but then you hear Senator Kennedy on Meet the Press. And he gave us some big information on the fake Maryland man, Garcia, who's in prison in El Salvador.
Anybody who can't stand up for the Constitution and the right of due process doesn't deserve to lead.
Chris says Mr. Garcia's had no due process. He's been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice.
Okay, so, and the girl on Meet the Press did not correct that, so that's true. Kennedy's always right, and she didn't correct him. Garcia has been in front of 17 judges, some of them multiple times. When does the due process end? How many judges do you go in front of? 17, according to Meet the Press. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Mark from Texas again.
Hey, Mark.
I was out in the woods, man.
Yeah.
I lost connection.
All right, hold on one second, Mark. We'll get back to you. All right, we'll try this guy. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Your phone, it just doesn't work, man. I don't know. You got to call from a better location or a new phone, because I can't hear you. It's all static. All right, go ahead, Texas. What's on your mind?
Anyway, as I was saying, I'm with you. Wherever she should have been, she should have had Secret Service with her.
She did.
Was in the restroom.
She did.
Well, they didn't do a very good job.
Well, or did they? Was this a random purse snatching, or was this a government op? What would be your guess?
Inside job.
Yeah.
Had to have been an inside job.
So that means the Secret Service detail had to be in on it.
Yeah.
So maybe they did their job, just not for her, for whoever they're working for.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
It's pretty frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
What they do, just grab her purse and hand it off to
We
her?
don't know. They said a white guy wearing a surgical mask, they have him on security footage, took the purse.
His identity?
Nope, they haven't identified him yet. And appreciate the call from Texas. Not only that, this is a big old purse. It's a bag. It's a big old purse. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? I'm going to try the third time.
All right.
Now we can hear you. Yes, now we can hear you.
All right. That must have been my car phone. I apologize, Brian. I wanted to kind of talk more about how we had our last conversation. When we spoke last, you said that Hitler deported Germans to Poland to where the concentration camps were. I'd like to kind of continue on that. Have you seen the satellite views of this new concentration camp called Seacot in El Salvador?
I haven't seen satellites, but I've seen aerial footage, probably from drones, and I've seen people that have gone inside and made videos of it.
All right, so the place that you're sending, I'll go it by what you're saying, the Maryland man to, the man that
Fake Maryland
has
man.
no mugshot and has never been charged with a crime. And if I'm wrong, please prove to me that I'm wrong. That
Well, we're not. Listen, here's what you don't understand about a call-in show like this. We're not in a courtroom like judges and a jury. We're in the court of public opinion. And in the court, well, that's true. This is not a legal setting. We're in the court of public opinion. And what we do, hold on a second here. Hold on a second. And there's nothing that I could share with you that you would admit you're wrong, okay? So you know all the evidence. He's got the MS-13 tattoos on his fingers, okay? President Trump showed this over the weekend. Jesse Waters showed it on Fox. He showed it to Jessica Tarloff on the 5, too. You know, and he was arrested with other MS-13 members in that Home Depot parking lot. If you are wearing MS-13 tattoos and you're not MS-13 and you're hanging out with MS-13, they will kill you.
Brian, can I respond to that?
Yes.
Okay. In the United States, if you are guilty of a crime, for one, you're charged, and then it's the burden of the state to prove that you're guilty of whatever crime. Okay?
Senator Kennedy, excuse me. I played a clip 3 times on the show this morning. Senator Kennedy.
Where's Garcia's mugshot, Brian?
Excuse me. Senator Kennedy was on Meet the Press on Sunday, and he said this. Okay, he said that he had been in front of 17 judges. And the Meet the Press anchor didn't correct him. So how many judges do you go in front of and you finally say, okay, I've got my due process?
Have you ever been in front of a judge before?
Traffic judges. Just traffic judges.
Exactly. So let me ask you a question. Is it worth sending a guy who's never been charged with a crime, who doesn't have a mugshot, to send him to a death camp called Seacot in El Salvador?
First off, it's not a death camp. It's not a concentration camp. It's a prison.
Please, Brian, go look at the satellite images of the Seacot in El Salvador. And I've seen video of multiple people inside the facility giving tours. It's not a fun prison, but it's a prison. Trump is doing exactly what Hitler did in World War II.
Really, he's killing Jews, rounding up and killing Jews, invading countries without provocation.
He's rounding up and killing anybody.
Who's he killed?
He doesn't like.
Who's he killed?
Who's
he killed?
Agree with him.
Who has President Trump killed? You said he's killing.
Who's dead yet.
You said he's killing people he doesn't like. You just said that he's killing people. Hold on. You just said he's killing people. You said, let me finish. You said he's killing people he doesn't like. Who's he killed?
He has sent over 200 people to El Salvador so far.
Are they dead? They're not dead.
Wait, you don't know that. How do you know if they're not dead or not?
If they were dead, it would be widely reported. We can assume they're not.
Yeah,
all right, I appreciate the call. I mean, my goodness. You know, I've had a lot of frustration, and you may have heard this in the last couple of shows, talking to these talking point people on Garcia. They say, what, due process. Now we find out he's been in front of 17 judges. How much due process do you get? And by the way, that's on his deportation. So on one crime, he's been in front of 17 judges. How much due process do you get? And they say, and they don't accept it. You know, they say, well, where's the evidence he's MS-13? We get tons of that, and they don't accept it. You can only go around in circles with these people so many times, and after a bit of time, you start to, lose patience. I mean, how many times on this program can I talk to liberals and go over the same information? I've been doing it for, how many weeks have we been talking? Is it 2 weeks, 3 weeks we've been talking about Garcia? You know, and they won't accept it. They have these are the talking points. He didn't get his due process, and there's no evidence that he's MS-13. We have, he's gotten his due process. We now know, according to the Meet the Press Sunday episode, in front of 17 judges. That's a whole lot of judges. People have been sent to the death chamber and not been in front of that many judges, even close, okay? Had been executed in electric chairs and gas chambers in this country without being in front of that many judges. So that with just that alone, I mean, how many judges do you go in front of before you say, okay, due process? There's no evidence he's MS-13. We have the confidential informant. We have the gang clothing. We have the MS-13 tats on his fingers. He's arrested with a group of MS-13. Yeah, but where's the proof? Prove it to me. Nothing's going to prove it to you, lunatics. You're nuts. You're never going to admit it. You're never going to accept it. And we're going around and around and around, and I've repeated myself so much about it. I mean, I'm like, oh, enough. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. And I want to talk about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. You know, I announced yesterday I've lost 35 pounds. Thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. 35 pounds. That is a lot of weight for me. It really is. My goal was 25, and I didn't think I'd be able to reach that. And I reached that plus 10. 35 pounds. It's absolutely amazing. And that's, of course, with zero exercise. It's eating foods I would normally eat. I'm not taking any prescription medication like Ozempic. And it works. And if you want to lose weight, whether it's 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 150 pounds or more, Coastal Weight Loss Secret they can do it for you. They did it for me. And I'm not hungry either. I thought I was going to go around starving and all. No. I'm not hungry. I'm eating foods I would normally eat, and I lost more weight than I even planned on. It's amazing. Give them a call. Now remember, there's no pills, no injections, nothing. Nothing. Here's the number. Now when you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. We'll be right back. There's a story that I swore that I retweeted that I can't find now. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share that. This is Pam Bondi. I'm going to play this when we get back. If you're on hold, hang in there. And if you're new to the program, make sure you subscribe, guys. We will be back shortly. Callers on hold. Hang in there. Welcome back, everyone. Callers on hold, stand by. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. I want to play this clip. This is Pam Bondi a few days ago on Hannity talking about the fake Maryland man. Listen to what she says. She details a lot. Mm. Mm. Okay, so there we have it. That's Garcia, according to the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right.
My name is Scott. I'm calling from Kansas City. I called yesterday, but I'm chomping at the bit over things I'm hearing here right now. A couple of points, and I'll get off. First of all, on the Secret Service, years ago, I heard on Larry King an interview with one of the Secret Service guys who looked after Pat Nixon, and he would accompany her when she went to her favorite beautician. He would look at his magazine. He would look up and surveil the room. He'd look at his magazine, look up and surveil the room. That's what he did. How can this woman have all that Secret Service around her without surveilling the environment? That's insane. And if I'm a purse snatcher or any kind of a thief, I would rather rob the liquor store down the street from Fort Knox than rob Fort Knox.
Well, that because I believe this was a deep state op and the Secret Service was a party to it. I think they wanted her cell phone.
That's insane. That's worse than when Caligula was murdered by his own Praetorian.
Well, so what?
guard.
I mean, what do you think
That's
is
good.
what do you think likely happened?
I hate to think this was a setup with an operative that went in and slicked her purse. but that's what it's looking like.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And on another point, real quick, you do not ever see a hex angel's patch on any kind of anything other than a hex angel or a 1%er patch. 1%er is any outlaw gang bike member. You don't wear them.
They'll kill you.
If you're caught with
They'll kill you.
You're in trouble.
You're dead.
Yeah. And that goes for any street gang with ink.
Especially when he's hanging out with the gang members in parking lots at Home Depot. And now we find out from Pam Bondi, he's not just a soldier, he's a higher ranking MS-13.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that one. This is new to me.
Yeah, we're getting all kinds of information.
But these people that one, I guess it is a senator, went down there. I heard him give a speech saying, "Well, we'll be back in power, and you'll see some things happen there."
Oh, really?
These people are evil.
Interesting. Yeah,
They're evil.
Well, they're Democrats. You know, Democrats used to own black people. They interred Americans of Japanese descent in concentration camps, and they experimented with the Tuskegee experiments on black people. They did medical experiments. Democrats are terrible people.
And they removed the natives from the 5 civilized tribes from the southeast and moved them to Oklahoma, and many died.
Trail of Tears, yeah. All right, appreciate the call, yeah. I mean, Democrats have always been terrible people. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. How you doing? This is Maria from Florida.
Hey, Maria.
Hey, how you doing this morning?
All right.
All right. I called to tell you you are doing an awesome job, and especially when people giving you grief. Don't worry about them. They'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And I want to talk about this melanin or whatever they're trying to call him.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been watching this for weeks. I'm taking a walk now, so you might hear my voice, but I'm taking a walk. This man been in front of the 17 judges, right?
It was Senator Kennedy on Meet the Press Sunday said he'd been in front of 17 judges, and Meet the Press didn't correct him. So I think that's a confirmation. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I also did my research, and matter of fact, he's been in front of multiple immigration judges that had ordered him for deportation because they saw a probable cause of him being MS-13. That is documented.
Mm-hmm.
It is documented. I pulled it up myself because I have a cousin that worked in that department that pulled it up for me, and they have the report, and the media have it too, but they're going to ignore it because they want to play political games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, Maria in Florida, it's good to hear from you, and enjoy your walk. Yeah, I mean, we've had some pretty good calls today. A few liberal lunatics that are having meltdowns, but that's okay. Our number, if you'd like to call in, is toll free 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. That's 888-465-2631. Call us on hold. You hang in there. I want to talk about Mike Lindell and MyPillow. You know, he's got an incredible offer going on the premium MyPillow. Now, the premium MyPillow is an upscale MyPillow. It has that piping around it, and the piping actually shows you the fill level, soft, medium, firm. But the premium MyPillow, the cover is of the Giza cotton, which is the finest cotton in the world. And I have all the MyPillows, including the premium luxury MyPillow. This pillow is amazing. The regular price is $69.98, but you can, with our promo code Kane, you can get your Giza premium MyPillow for just $19.98 with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. It's a beautiful pillow. You'll love it. If you think you've had a good night's sleep, you have it until you're sleeping like I am with an entire MyPillow sleep system. I have a MyPillow mattress, a MyPillow mattress topper. I've got the Giza sheets. I've got the MyPillow Percale sheets. I've got all the MyPillows, and I sleep like Goldilocks every night because I have the complete MyPillow sleep system. So use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, huge discount site-wide. And also, for a limited time, on orders of $100 or more, you're going to get $100 in free gifts from Mike Lindell at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout. And there's all kinds of great specials going on, including the offer to get the 3-pack introductory energy drink. Mike Lindell has a new line of energy drinks. I've had these. They are delicious. They come in 3 flavors: green apple, which is my favorite, lemonade, and blueberry. And with our promo code Kane at checkout, you can get the 3-pack of the new Mike Lindell energy drink. It's called Rev 7, absolutely free. Now, the energy drink is caffeine-free and sugar-free, so you don't get the crashes or the jitters like you get with a lot of other energy drinks. So go to mypillow.com and order yours with our promo code Kane at checkout. You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane, K-A-N-E, at checkout. All right. Now, after the top of the hour break, we'll take more calls, and Steve Kane will be joining us. There is another big story that I have not gotten to, that I am going to, break after the top of the hour break. There was a third Trump attempted assassin that was arrested about a week ago. Remember this guy? He killed his parents. Remember this guy? There is a major update on him and a connection to the other 2 assassins, to the Butler assassin and the golf course assassin here in Florida. And like with the Kristi Noem purse snatching incident, there's a media blackout on these stories, okay? And I'm going to go through that story after the top of the hour break with Steve Kane. It is very disturbing. The media are not talking about it, and the reason the media are not talking about it is they don't want you to know about these stories that I'm discussing today. There's 3 big stories. The Kristi Noem purse snatching, I believe it was a deep state op. The majority of our callers believe that, even liberal callers. We had a guy who's retired CIA called early in the program who agreed it was an op. It's like things he's seen. Meet the Press had Senator Kennedy on. They're reporting on Meet the Press with Senator Kennedy that Garcia, the Maryland man, went before 17 judges, some of them twice. So he's gotten his due process. And this update on the latest Trump assassin, the third Trump assassin, who has a major connection to the other 2 Trump assassins, Butler and the golf course assassin. So I'm going to break that story with Steve Kane in the next hour. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you're calling from. 888-465-2631. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig, back after this.
Hello.
All right, we're almost on.
Oh.
Okay, you there? Hold on.
I'm here.
All right, we got 30 seconds. Stand by. All right, let's go. Stand by. Whoa, 20 seconds. Are you there, Steve?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, hang in there. All right, the third hour has begun. I'm Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Steve joining us. Call us on hold, standby. Well, we've broken a lot of big news on the show today in the first 2 hours, Steve. And there's one more big story that I've not gotten to yet. But do you want to take some calls first? What do you want?
No, why don't you get to your story?
The big story? Okay.
We'll see what. Nothing like being surprised.
Well,
first thing in the morning.
Let me recap the first two, and then I'll give you to the new one that I have not broken yet.
Okay.
Senator Kennedy was on Meet the Press Sunday, and I know it's 2 days later, but I didn't pick this up on Sunday or Monday's news. So they when they put out the sound bites, they didn't put this one out because they didn't want people to know. Senator Kennedy was on Meet the Press and drops a major update on this Kilmar Garcia, the Maryland man. Now, one of the big talking points is that he didn't get his due process. What Senator Kennedy broke on Meet the Press, and the anchor on Meet the Press did not correct him, which is a confirmation that she knew the story to be true. Garcia went in front of 17 judges, Steve. 17, some of them twice. So, people have been sent to the death chamber with fewer judges than that. 17 judges, some of them multiple times. I think he had his due process. Pam Bondi was on Hannity and broke that he's a high-ranking MS-13 person. High-ranking, not just a soldier. So those are two big stories. The other one that we spent most of the time is this purse snatching of Kristi Noem. And for those that are just tuning in, on Easter Sunday, Kristi Noem, who has a very large Secret Service detail, was at a restaurant in D.C. for Easter dinner with her family. Her purse was stolen. And this was a big old purse. I've seen pictures of her with it. It's a huge bag, huge.
It's like a shopping bag.
Yeah, pretty much, except it probably costs $5,000. And at least. And they've reported, this story broke about 11:45 a.m. yesterday. There have been zero updates in the media since then. Any story you see is a reprint of the original CNN story from 11:45. So the media...
What do you think is covering it up?
The media are covering... I think it was a deep state op. I think that the deep state, and they had the Secret Service obviously cooperating with them, were trying to get a hold of her cell phone. There's been some... the early story told us that inside the purse was $3,000. She was going to give it as gifts to her kids and grandkids for Easter. The keys to wherever she's living in D.C., her driver's license, her passport, and her security badge for the Department of Homeland Security. But there's been no questions or follow-ups or any details asked by the media. They have been, for about a year, floating a story that was even in the news over the weekend, even though there's no evidence of it, that Kristi Noem, who's a married woman, has been having an extramarital affair with Corey Lewandowski, who does work for her. And I think it was a deep state op to get a hold of her cell phone, thinking that they might find some embarrassing text messages or emails.
Do you offer any evidence to that effect?
Well, yeah, Steve, she has a massive Secret Service detail because of the deportation. Yeah. So it's hard for me to believe that with a massive Secret Service detail like she has a Secret Service protection so large it's second only to the president, okay? Because
so it's hard for you to believe what?
That with a Secret Service detail that large inside and outside the restaurant, that a white man in a...
I don't want to be the bearer of bad, ill tidings.
Yep.
But that hardly constitutes evidence.
Well, yeah, it does. Well, we're not in court, Steve. How could a white guy in a surgical mask...
At best, it's a wild speculation.
No, it's not a wild speculation. I think it's a very coherent speculation based on the evidence we have. So she has a massive Secret Service detail. No, hold on. No, we do. Steve, she has a very large Secret Service detail. They're inside and outside.
That's not evidence.
Well, let me finish my thought. So a white guy in a surgical mask, a purse snatcher, walks in through all this Secret Service, snatches Kristi Noem's extra large purse, and it is massive if you've seen pictures of her with it, and the Secret Service didn't notice? Come on, Steve. It's not even credible.
You're saying that I just want to get this straight in my mind. So you're saying the fact that the Secret Service didn't notice,
Correct.
which I think is evident. You're saying that's evidence?
Yes. Yeah. Circumstantial, but evidence. You know, the Secret Service let Trump get shot in Butler with a guy on a roof that was visible to everybody. Then they let him get shot at almost again at the golf course in Florida. The Secret Service has been involved in 2 assassination cover-ups with the president. So this is, yeah. And they, you know, I was talking earlier, the break-in at Mar-a-Lago was not about classified documents. They broke in with a safecracker. And the corrupt Biden regime they had convinced themselves, this was reported in the story, that President Trump in his personal safe at Mar-a-Lago had a binder with documents that showed Barack Obama illegally authorized the spying on Trump Tower. That's why they broke into Mar-a-Lago. It's why they brought the safecracker and they broke into Trump's personal safe. Mike Lindell, the Biden FBI raided Mike Lindell. The only thing they took was his cell phone. Kristi Noem, I believe they were after her cell phone. And no one in the media has even asked if her phone was in the purse. So no, I don't think that this is wild speculation. I think it's a very educated analysis based on the history and what's happened. And almost every single caller to the program since 6 a.m. agrees with me on it.
Well, let's see if after they've heard what I have to say, and in which you just graciously permitted me to give my input, let's see if they still believe
All right,
that.
well, let's take a call or two, and then I'll share the new Trump assassin massive story. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. Now, the rest of you on hold, stand by. I've been promising this story all day, so I want to share it. Okay, now, the first 2 Trump assassins, Steve, okay, the Butler assassin, he had multiple cell phones. On one of his cell phones, he was in communication with a Ukrainian phone number. This is the Butler assassin that shot Trump. One of his cell phones, he had been calling someone with a Ukrainian phone number. So he had a Ukrainian connection, right? The Butler assassin. That was widely reported at the time and is fact. The golf course assassin had been to Ukraine. The weapon he had was an AK-47, which was the weapon that Ukraine was handing out. But a few weeks ago, a story came out that, this is the golf course assassin. The golf course assassin here in Florida had been to Ukraine. He was working as a recruiter for ex-U.S. military to recruit them to fight as mercenaries for Ukraine. And a couple weeks ago, a new story came out that the golf course assassin was in communication with a Ukrainian official trying to get an RPG so that he could shoot down Trump Force One. This was widely reported about 2 weeks ago. We talked about it on the show. And by the way, the golf course is walking distance from the airport where Trump Force One parked. Okay, so we've got a Ukrainian connection to the Butler shooter that actually shot Trump, a major Ukrainian connection to the golf course shooter. Last week, there was a third assassin. This is a younger guy. He killed his parents. He was plotting to assassinate Trump. This is in the Gateway Pundit, and it's also being reported in other sources. Here's the headline. Third would-be Trump assassin plotted with a Telegram account, that's a social media thing, kind of like Twitter, linked to a Ukrainian cell phone number. So now we have 3 Trump assassins. All 3 of them have Ukrainian connections. Pretty solid Ukrainian connections. So it looks like, Steve, we have a third confirmation that Ukraine is behind the Trump assassination attempts. So
well,
what?
I mean, that whole thing stinks to high heaven.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stick up for that. I agree
Yeah.
with you on that.
Yeah.
That's suspicious.
It's an indictment.
The only question I have, the question I have in my mind, why would President Trump be part of the cover-up?
He's not part of a cover-up. Who said he's part of a cover-up?
Does he know what you just said?
I'm sure what's going on right now is Kash Patel's involved in an investigation of all of this.
But why? Okay, so that justifies secrecy.
Yeah, and he also may make the decision not to make it public, because if he came out and said, we have evidence that Ukraine had 3 assassins after me, the American people might demand that we start bombing Ukraine. He may not want to get involved in that. I don't know. But all 3 Trump assassins.
Well, it looks like Trump is about to step away from. He's setting the table. It appears to step away from Ukraine at this point.
Well, yeah, they're trying to kill him. Why should he be helping them? And these stories.
I'm not attacking it. I'm just saying it looks like that's evidence in support of you.
And these stories that have come out are stories that have leaked from the investigators. So maybe President Trump and Kash Patel are allowing this information to be leaked. We've got 3 Trump assassins, and we have 3 solid Ukrainian connections, right? And a connection to each assassin.
As Hamlet once said, something's rotten in the state of Denmark.
Yeah, and all of these stories, the media are not covering. This purse snatching story, there's something stinks with that. Now it's on Meet the Press. We're finding that the fake Maryland man has been in front of 17 judges, and now we have a third assassin and a third assassin with a Ukrainian connection. I mean, this is nuts. We're going to take our first break of the hour. If you'd like to call in and comment on this, your calls are certainly welcome at 1-888-465-2631. 1-888-465-2631. I'm going to put you on hold, Steve. We'll take our break and be back. Hey, it's Brian. Hold on, Barry. Steve, you there?
I'm here.
All right, I'm going to conference Barry in. Hold on. All right, Barry, we're not back yet, but hang in there. We'll be back shortly.
Okay. Brian, you there?
Yeah.
If we have a second,
now we can't. Everybody can hear you on YouTube, so I'll have to call you after. You want me to?
Okay.
You want me to call you after the show?
Sure.
Okay. I'll call you a couple minutes after 9, Barry. As soon as I get off.
Perfect.
Okay. Ten seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. It's time to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, what do you have for us today?
Hey, good morning. I want to talk about something we don't talk about often. It's deeds. Deeds are the instruments that are used to transfer ownership in real estate. And that's important in estate planning in multiple reasons. We're not going to have time to get into all of it. Of course, a lot of people will deed their real estate into their revocable living trust so it will avoid probate. But this morning I wanted to talk about a special type of deed that's often used in the Medicaid planning called a ladybird deed. And a ladybird deed is it's a life estate deed. It's an enhanced life estate deed, which essentially puts a beneficiary on your property, and so it will avoid probate. But at the same time, if the person who's on it qualifies for Medicaid, it will help make sure that Medicaid won't be able to come back and claw back and try to recover any monies that they have spent on that person's care. They won't be able to go after and put a lien on that property. So a ladybird deed is an important tool that's used, especially when we're dealing with Medicaid planning cases. And so that's what it is. And of course, it was named after Lady Bird Johnson, First Lady.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've been trying to get my mother to get one of these for the last couple of years, and she hasn't. You know, she's one of those. It just doesn't do it. So this is a new aspect, though, of the Ladybird deed that I've never heard before. I didn't realize it played such an important role with the Medicaid planning.
Oh yeah, I mean that's when it's generally done is if somebody's doing Medicaid planning, because we want to make sure not only do we help protect the person's assets during their lifetime, so they don't have to spend down their assets and go broke, but even after they pass, because if Medicaid collects it after they pass, then really what good was it? So we want to make sure that the clients are protected during their lifetime.
Oh, hold on a second. That's something. Whoa! I didn't hear that first. So you're telling me that after someone passes, Medicaid comes after assets?
They can. Yeah,
oh my goodness!
Clawback. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
So we set things up so that can be prevented.
That's insane. And it's terrible, and it probably comes as a shock to the heirs. Oh my goodness! Well, listen,
That's
don't
why
let
planning is so important. That's why people need to plan ahead.
you know. And you guys, as many times as we've talked to Attorney Barry Siegel, you learn new stuff every call. I mean, we have talked maybe thousands of times, Barry, and I've been to many of your workshops, and this is all completely new information to me. As many times as we've talked in your workshops, I mean, this is how complex these issues are. That's why you want to call the Siegel Law Group. Now, I'm going to give you the number. When you call the Siegel Law Group, make sure you mention you heard Attorney Barry Siegel on the program, so you can take advantage of the no-charge consultation with the Siegel Law Group, and they can help you no matter where you are in the state of Florida. Here's the number: 855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782. And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel, we'll talk later in the week.
All right, thanks, Brian.
All right, take care. Yeah, so Steve, you back with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I wanted to, let me ask you your thoughts on these two stories, okay? And I do want to hear from you guys in the audience on all these stories. The first on the Ukrainian connections to these three Trump assassins, I believe them all to be true, because there's too many of them, and each one has that connection. And in the instance of the golf course assassin, he was actually there, and there's a lot of hard evidence that we already have that he was there, he was recruiting, he was in communication to get the RPG and all that stuff.
Well, it's highly suspicious, there's no question.
So, and you say, well, why is Trump keeping this classified? Which he very well may be doing. If Trump let it be known that Ukraine was behind 3 assassination attempts against him, what would the American people expect of him? What would the American people want done to Ukraine if that were...
I could see where it would be a complicating factor that he doesn't necessarily want into play.
I would think the American people would either want us to bomb the daylights out of them, arrest Zelensky and his henchmen that were behind it, or just get out and let Russia take the country. It could be...
But it appears that's sort of the direction... It appears to me that's sort of the direction he's taking.
So if Trump... Yeah. So is...
Does he seem to be tiptoeing out?
These things are leaking out. These Ukrainian assassin connections are leaking out. I don't know how, but they get reported in credible news sources. But if Trump were to keep this on the down low and not confirm it, I think that says a lot of good things about him. That he, I mean, if somebody tries to kill me 3 times, I want them to, something to happen. But he doesn't want to escalate things in that region. I think it says a lot about him that I think it's a good thing if he were to keep this secret. If he made that decision, I mean, I'm going to go along with whatever Trump does because Trump always knows what's best. But if he made a decision to keep this secret and not confirm it, don't you think that, I mean, I think that says a lot about him. That's a good thing. And
I agree.
yeah. And it's god awful and terrible, and shame on Ukraine. These are terrible people in Ukraine. They really are. Now, the other story with the Kristi Noem purse snatching story, when this story broke yesterday and everything, the reason that I led with it today is because there's been a complete media blackout on the story. I do believe it was a deep state op and an attempt to get her cell phone to find something incriminating, because they believe.
You need something. You need some piece of evidence.
I have evidence, Steve. Here's my evidence.
Your theory is not evidence.
My theory is
theory
based
is
on
it's a theory.
My theory is based on things.
Circumstantial evidence.
Well, in the court of public opinion, that's what we got. In a court of law, you need more hardcore stuff. But we're in the court of public opinion, and this Lewandowski affair, which I don't believe. She's a married woman, okay?
We don't even believe it.
I don't, but they've been spreading this story for a year. And over Easter weekend, there were several fake news stories about it, including one that said that she wanted this particular senior job for Corey Lewandowski, and Trump stopped it because of their affair. He thought it would look bad. I don't believe she's having an affair with Corey Lewandowski, and I'll tell you my reasoning. One, she's a married woman who's high profile and would be completely stupid, and women think more clearly about sexual things than men. Second, look at her husband, and look at Corey Lewandowski. I like Corey Lewandowski. He's awesome. He's a cool guy, but he's got a pizza face. He's ugly as hell. A hot woman like Kristi Noem, who's married to a handsome man and is very public, is going to risk a scandal by having an extramarital affair with a guy that looks like that? I don't think so. But the Trump derangement syndrome sufferers that have been behind floating this fake story, they believe it. So if they can get that cell phone and it has text messages on it between the two of them.
Didn't you just say you don't believe that?
But the people that are spreading the story believe the story. The Trump haters believe it.
Why are you spreading it if you don't believe it?
I'm not. It's all over the news. There were major stories in the mainstream press about this nonsense story over Easter weekend. Okay, so it's not like I'm spreading something that's a secret. These fake news stories have been all over the news for the last year, and there were a bunch of them over Easter weekend. So the never Trumpers inside our deep state believe it to be true. They just don't have evidence. There's nothing could. Not only does
you?
Of course not. I don't believe it, but they do. Like they believed that Trump in his safe had a binder with documents of Obama authorizing the spying on Trump Tower, which were not in there. The only thing in the...
I can't wait to take calls on this.
Yeah, we're coming up on the bottom of the hour break, okay? So if you're on hold, hang in there. And if you'd like to weigh in on any of these stories, call us during the break at the bottom of the hour, and we'll take your calls after. But they believe it's true. They just can't find the evidence. But they figure they can find evidence on the cell phone through the text. So they'll use that to either try to blackmail her, or embarrass her and get her out. This Trump cabinet is tight, Steve. There's no leaks. They're all MAGA. They're loyal to Trump, and they're all friends. So they don't have any leaks coming out of the cabinet, and they don't have any saboteurs like they had in the first term. They want to get rid of Hegseth so they can plug in like Kristi, or not Kristi, who's the woman that has sex with men she's not married to? Nikki Haley. They want to plug in Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis. They want Kristi Noem out to disrupt these deportations and plug in an establishment person that'll leak and disrupt and sabotage. That's what they're doing. She has an extra heavy Secret Service team because of the deportations and taking on Trinidad and MS-13. There's no way that a guy in a mask went into a restaurant with that much Secret Service and walked out with her massive purse, and the Secret Service didn't stop him unless they were in on it. All right, I'm going to put you on hold, Steve. We're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. If you'd like to share your opinion on this, call us during the break, and we'll take your calls after the break. The number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. I'm Brian. We'll be right back. Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, hang in there. Oh, my goodness. I'm behind on spots. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll take the calls. All right, 30 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. Steve Kane is here. Let's just go right back to our phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, Never Trumper Steve in beautiful Palm City.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to blow up your conspiracy theory on the Noem theft, but you love conspiracy theory, so that's your shtick. But the facts of the matter is this was a crime that was done because it was available to the guy with the mask on. Here are the facts. The Secret Service was at the bar. Nothing wrong so far with that. The bar was in between her table and the front door. So far, so good, unless they were getting drunk, which would be a bad thing. And she had her purse on the floor next to her feet. So for the ladies out there, it's a teachable moment. When you go out to dinner, take a purse that has a strap around it, and put your foot
First of all, excuse me. First off, what you
take $3,000 in cash with you.
What you just said, Never Trumper Steve, has not been confirmed. And how many Secret Servicemen do you think she had?
It has It has been confirmed by report. Certainly, what you're
Who?
saying hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah, sure it has. What I've been sharing is from Fox and CNN, the New York Post.
Well, in fact, if you did your show prep completely, CBS News said her cell phone was not even in the purse.
No, we don't know. No. First, no, we don't know that. The department. Excuse me.
No.
The Department of Homeland Security spokesperson has not confirmed any of that information. What you're hearing about what you just said from CBS News, which I've not seen, that has not been released by Kristi Noem, the Secret Service, or Homeland Security spokesperson. No, that is speculation.
You can read all the sources. Google it. You know, your audience could Google the same thing I Google, and the same thing you could Google.
But no, excuse me, what you just said,
her cell phone was in the purse.
No, I did not.
I agree with you.
No, I did not make it up.
If I agree with you that it has not been confirmed, what you said hasn't been confirmed.
What I told you was I didn't say, Steve, I didn't say they took her cell phone. I haven't said that they took her cell phone once. I believe it was a deep state.
You started a conspiracy.
I believe it was a deep state op attempting to get her cell phone. And so far as this Secret Service at the bar, that is such a BS story. She's got Secret Service throughout the restaurant, inside and out. And the bar story, that's where I love how these talking points get created out of garbage. When was the last? Excuse me. Think, Steve. Steve, slow down. There was excuse me. There was. Stop talking. Listen, I want you to answer this. The Secret Service at the bar BS. She has a very large detail, not a couple of people at a bar. There was a high-profile security breach with a president that involved security at the bar, where this BS story you just came up with came from. Do you know what I'm referencing?
I do not.
The Lincoln assassination. His security guy was downstairs at the bar. Now, they may have had a couple Secret Service people at the bar, but that was not her whole detail. She is the most protected cabinet member right now. The most.
Right, but it was a crime of opportunity. The guy was sitting at the neighboring table.
That has not been new. That has not been.
The fact that he had a mask on means this could be his living.
How do you sit at a table? Excuse me. How do you sit at a table and eat dinner with a surgical mask on?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just back from Vegas at the buffets, and a lot of people are eating.
They're eating through the mask.
Well, no, you take it off.
Well, the story was reported from the Homeland Security Department and Secret Service. He was in a mask, and there's no video or photographs of him because he wore a mask. This story that he was eating dinner, that is of him in a mask. If he was at the table,
of him in a mask, yes.
If he was at the table,
moved his chair over a little bit closer
to
her table, and hooked the bag, picked it up, and walked out.
That is the liberal fantasy of what happened. None of that has been confirmed. And if he's sitting at a table eating dinner and removing the mask, they would have video and photos from the restaurant without the mask, which they don't have. They have video of him with the mask.
CBS says specifically that the cell phone was not
now
in the bag.
CBS are the ones that reported that George W. Bush was AWOL from the Texas Air National Guard. They produced a they produced a document that was written on a Microsoft Word document, even though he supposedly went AWOL in the 70s before Microsoft was established. Right? Before Word was invented.
All I'm saying is you need to be more careful.
No, I am careful. I am careful.
You don't have the facts.
I have the facts. So far as we know them now. It's a developing story.
We don't know a lot. We don't know.
No, I know everything that's out there now.
And so do I. You
know
more than I know.
No, I know more than you know.
If the cell phone was not in her purse, you don't have anything to worry about.
But that doesn't mean that they were not trying to get the cell phone. It just means if what you're saying is true.
Sitting at the
neighboring table.
Well,
Anyway,
what kind? Hold on. One last question. One last question. Okay. So if he's sitting, I don't believe any of this. So you've got a guy sitting at the table next to Kristi Noem. That means he knows that it's Kristi Noem. She's one of the most.
He knows it's a person on the floor.
Hold on.
No.
Hold on. Let me finish and then answer. This isn't Jeopardy. You don't have to buzz in to beat the other never Trumper contestant. Okay. So if he's sitting at the table next to Kristi Noem, he knows that's Kristi Noem for a couple of reasons. One, she's one of the most famous women in America, and she's recognizable, and she has a Secret Service detail all over the restaurant and outside. So you mean to tell me that a guy, he sees the Secret Service, he knows who she is, she's a senior cabinet official, and he decided to do a very high-risk crime of grabbing her purse with all these federal agents around from a most famous, one of the 5 or 10 most famous women in America? That doesn't even make sense.
He sees, when you say he sees the Secret Service, they're in plain clothes. They dress like everybody else. The fact that he's wearing a mask says he does this for a living.
You're at never Trumper Steve. All right. So now Steve, never Trumper Steve, on his last call, he was defending that wife beater, Garcia, the illegal. Now he's defending a purse snatcher. It seems it's, he's, see what being a never Trumper does to you? And this exactly. Now I'm pulling up, okay, this I am pulling up the story. Now they say, CBS, that the phone was not in her purse. That doesn't mean they weren't trying to get her phone. And by the way,
we're in circles.
No, we're not. This is the biggest story of the day, Steve. The biggest story of the day. And we are ahead of the game on it. Well, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. If you've ever been around someone who is a couple weeks ago, I was after the show, I left the radio station and I was driving down I-95, and one of the Trump cabinet members was driving down I-95, and I was going south, they were going north, and I could tell because of the massive Secret Service detail around them. They had the SUVs, they had the police, and when someone like Kristi Noem goes into a restaurant, it's not just Secret Service, there's also a police escort. So some guy, hold on, Steve, I'm going to answer these 50 calls coming. I'm going to put you on hold while I do it. This idea, you back with us, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. This idea that look at that purse, in front of police and Secret Service did this is insane. All right, let's take some of these calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Matthew. I'm calling from Florida.
Matthew in Florida. What's up?
What's up? I just wanted to touch base on a call you got earlier, I believe during the first hour, of someone saying that MAGA is dangerous. Oh, the guy had a MAGA hat. Should watch out for MAGA now. All that nonsense. And he wasn't MAGA to begin with. But, I could list 100 different things that the left has done to the right. One leftist ran over an elderly man who was putting up a Trump sign, and he took his life just for putting up a Trump sign. And then there was I could name a bunch of other stuff, like the one that went into the Christian school and unfortunately took lives there.
Yeah, that's true.
For being Christian.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The shooter at Florida State University, you know how I know he's not MAGA? For a fact?
How's that?
The story's disappeared from the media. If that monster was a Trump supporter, the story would be everywhere and they'd be following it like nobody's business. But they've dropped the story from the media, if you've noticed. If that Florida State University murderer, he killed 2 people. 2 people. One of them was just visiting. He was a executive with the company that does the meals in the cafeteria. If that guy was a Trump supporter, the media would be camped out at Florida State University. They'd be covering the story and we'd know everything about him. But the very fact that they've dropped the story so quickly on a school shooting tells me he's not MAGA. They got information that he's one of them. That's just the common sense thing. These are the kind of thing. When you follow the news like Steve and I do, you get to read things. Now, I did, while you were speaking, I read the Never Trumper Steve story from CBS News. Nothing he said was true. They have an unnamed source that they claim was sitting at her table that said the purse was under the table. Who in Kristi Noem's family is talking to CBS News? I don't buy that. I think they made up the source.
Right.
Okay? And they told them the cell phone was not in the purse. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. It doesn't mean they weren't trying to get the cell phone. And there was nothing in the CBS News story about this guy dining next to her who just took an opportunity. I don't know where he got that from. It's not in the story. Hey, listen, guy, thanks for the call. I got to tell you, since 6 a.m., we've had some great calls. And Steve, in the first hour, I got a call from a guy who's retired CIA who told me this is just like an op that they ran when he was in the CIA. Okay, so, all right, Steve, we're coming up on the gold report, so I'm going to put you on hold. And those of you on the line, hang in there. I want to talk to you all about Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser wave pain treatment. I was talking last week, one of our cruisers, Gary, had arthritis in his neck. Notice I said had. Dr. Appleton and his laser wave pain treatment rid him of his arthritis pain. Dr. Appleton's laser treatment works. It's rid me of pain 7 times from arthritis, just injuries, pains and aches from growing older, and I am living 100% pain-free. Dr. Appleton performs all the laser treatments himself. There's no injections, no drugs, no surgery, no downtime, and no appointment necessary, even on Saturdays. Give Dr. Appleton a call and say bye-bye to your pain, like Gary did with his pain in his arthritis in his neck, and I've done 7 times, and many of our listeners. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. We'll be right back. Hello? Hey, William, hold on. Steve, you there? Steve? Okay, hold on. All right, stand by, Steve.
Who?
Okay, stand by.
Are you on there?
Yep, stand by. All right, we are back, and it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated with our Tuesday morning gold and precious metals report. William Youngerman, how the metals looking today?
Metals continue to look strong on their march to $4,000. Gold yesterday gained $96.40, closing in a new record high of $3,423.40 the ounce. Silver was up 9 cents at $32.63. Platinum closed down $3 at $9.63, and palladium was down $28 at $9.16. So gold continues to lead the march. And overnight, we saw gold get right up to $3,500 an ounce. $34.13 on the low, $34.99.70 on the high for gold last night. Right now, we're at $3,445, Brian. That's up $21.60 right now. Silver up 22 cents at $32.85. Platinum down $3 at $9.60, and palladium up $6 at $9.22. So the relentless march of gold to $4,000 is evident. It's already passed my prediction for the year of $3,400. So
wow.
We'll see where this is going, but I don't see anything stopping gold at this point, or anything in the way of any reason why it should stop from going to all the way to 4,000
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah. Now, you guys out there listening, it's time to start looking through the jewelry boxes and the safe deposit boxes. If you have any old jewelry or anything that's made of the metals, well, this is your ship coming in. All right. I mean, this is an amazing opportunity. So if you have anything that's made of the metals, gold in particular, but silver as well, take it to William Youngerman's, turn it into cash, or maybe exchange it and turn it into a coin. I imagine people's minds are being blown away with their old, out-of-date, ugly, broken jewelry that they're bringing in William Youngerman these days.
They certainly are. They're just amazing. I had somebody come in with just a little, very light pair of earrings yesterday. I thought, oh, this is nothing. It's no gold. Boy, it weighed just enough to put hundreds of dollars in their pockets. And they were amazed.
They were amazed. Yeah, listen, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. Give him a call, toll free, 800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010. His address in Boca Raton is 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca, on the first floor of the Bank of America building just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. And find both his address and phone number on his website, williamyoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll touch base tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, take care. All right, Steve, the gold is exploding, man. I mean, it's crazy. Now, if you're on hold, hang in there. There's one opening on the board. But I announced this yesterday. I want to announce it again. I found out, I weighed myself finally, and thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret, I have lost 35 pounds. 35 pounds. And remember, that is without any exercise at all, other than running my mouth with you guys in the mornings. I'm not taking any prescription medications like Ozempic, and I'm eating foods I would normally eat, and I've never been hungry once. It's amazing. You can do it too. I'm amazed. 35 pounds. And I decided this is where I'm going to stay. And I'm not going to tell you where I started and where I'm at on my actual weight, but 35 pounds, I mean, that's a lot of 1 pound packs of hamburgers, Steve, at the grocery store. That's a lot. 35 pounds. That's what I've lost. If you want to lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 100, 150 pounds or more, Coastal Weight Loss Secret can help. I'm going to give you their number. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossSecret.com. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Mike from Houston. How are you this morning?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, yeah, so, the more I think about it, I think you might be onto something regarding Kristi Noem's purse.
Yeah.
I think it's entirely possible that someone is or was interested in obtaining her cell phone, and stealing her purse from a crowded restaurant while she's sitting there is probably the most inconspicuous. If it's a crowded restaurant, and she's sitting down at a table and the purse is next, it's probably the most inconspicuous way to do that. I mean, there aren't too many other options, like, snatching the purse.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to be very clear. I went through the CBS story that Never Trumper Steve talked about. This thing about, the guy was at the table with the... None of that's in the story. So I don't know where he heard that, but it's not in the story. I read it, and So I believe it was a deep...
I believe, in my mind, if it's a sit down restaurant, she would have put the purse probably down beside her, and that's very easy.
We don't know. With a restaurant and parking lot filled with federal agents, I don't think so. And a purse this large, it's huge.
But getting back to what I was saying, I think you're onto something. That does make sense.
All right.
What I'd like to know is, did this guy come into the restaurant after Kristi Noem went in there?
We don't know. They haven't told us anything. Just a white guy in a surgical mask. Listen, we got a bad connection, but you make some good points, especially the parts where you agree with me. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Brian. It's Ron from Texas. How are you?
All right.
I believe you're 100% right. With my past experience, which is irrelevant at this point, you take a look at pattern recognition and you take a look at just some common sense. When you look at what's going on with Garcia, with the senator, with the new revelations of what's coming up with Trump, with Kristi Noem, with all of this stuff, and then you look at what Dan Bongino is doing, I think, you haven't heard a lot about Dan Bongino. And with his experience, I think everything is a setup.
You know.
Well, you know, in this story with Kristi Noem, I'm going to tell you, we're ahead of this on this story. Okay, no one else is talking about it. So you know, yeah, you know, but it is a developing story, and things will come out. But never Trump or Steve made up this whole thing.
Well, I believe, you know,
I'm lost there. What are you talking about?
A lot of people here.
Well, what's your theory?
What is the theory?
Well, my theory is that they're trying to get out the moles. You know, they said you know, with what Kristi Noem had in her book or in her pocketbook there and everything.
So who is the mole?
You think Kristi Noem set up a sting?
No, I think that. Well, if you let me talk for a second. Like I said, I think they're trying to find the moles and setting people up with information to get the people, you know, like the Secret Service. Who's the mole in the Secret Service? How are they going to get into a place when they got advanced setup?
Oh, slow down. So, okay, slow down. So you think that like Dan Bongino was running a sting operation here to root out a mole in the Secret Service, maybe?
That's kind of one of my thoughts. Yes.
No, that's interesting. That did not occur to me.
The moles are in the Secret Service.
Isn't that something?
So, I think a lot of this is an operation from the White Hat.
Speculation.
I think it's.
Oh no, Steve.
I think it's a White Hat. I think it's a White Hat operation to do the moles.
I mean, if you've ever been around, all right, appreciate the call. Yeah, Steve, have you ever been around a cabinet official with a massive Secret Service detail? I mean, it's so many federal agents. It's impossible to get close to them and their person. Let's take another call here. Hold on. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
PJ from Broward.
Hey, PJ.
Hey, PJ.
Hey, I don't understand something. Doesn't she have tracking on her cell phone?
Well, we don't know that they got her phone or not, but I'm saying is I think they were trying to get her cell phone.
And also, what about her purse? I mean, you would think if there was important stuff in there, she would have a tracking device.
Maybe she did. Maybe they're tracking.
I mean, I saw it all the time on Breaking Bad, you know, so why not when real life in the government?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey.
Yep.
Yeah.
There may be an arrest. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. By the way, I ordered about a little over a month ago that the My Pillow towels. Oh my God, they're compared to my older towels, it's unbelievable the difference.
I know, isn't it? I mean, I know. You got to experience it, but yeah, the old towels just spread the water around your body. All right, appreciate the call, PJ, and the good words. Before we go back to the phones, though, you know, this idea that they don't have this guy on video. If you get the free doorbell camera at Sloman's that you can get with the installation of your Sloman Shield, you get perfect video of everything in front of your house, okay? You get a notification on your cell phone every time there's movement at your door. I know that they have security all over this place with video that they're not sharing with us. But yeah, you can get a free doorbell camera that connects directly to your cell phone with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Sloman is also going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. You get an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts for your doors and windows, a lifetime warranty, a backup battery, plus a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Give them a call, toll-free, 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050, 833-283-5050. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Steve and Brian. Good morning. It's JJ from Mass.
Hey, JJ.
Hey, JJ.
Hey, Steve.
What do you make of all this?
Well, you know, I look at D.C. as a, you know, obviously it's a very, you have political crime. We all know that. There's plenty of that going around. But Washington, D.C. is also a, you know, it's sort of the capital of, you know, political crime, but also regular crime. You know, there's a lot of skilled pickpockets and purse snatchers in D.C. I don't agree 100% with the theory that you're spouting, Brian, but I definitely see the possibility of it. But I think it's more apt, and I heard this from NBC. I heard that there was a guy that did sit down close to the purse, and he slid it over with his foot Because I'm trying to figure out, how does a guy, he obviously didn't grab it off her shoulder. That's something sneaky that happened.
She was at hold on. First off, that's not been confirmed. She was at a table with her entire family with her husband, her kids, her grandkids, her kids' spouses, and the Secret Service everywhere with this massive purse. And this massive purse is
How do you know
big.
it was massive, Brian?
Because there's been photographs.
You're assuming.
No, there's been photographs.
Listen, here's
Excuse me.
Women. There's been photographs of the purse where?
No.
At the restaurant?
Well, let me finish. There were photographs of her in the news yesterday when this was first reported, with the purse in question, and it's a bag, not a
How do you
tiny
know
purse.
it's the purse in question?
Because it was widely reported by Fox, CNN, and others
so you're
early
believing
on.
Fox, but you're not going to believe NBC. NBC, I heard the story. Number one, women that go to restaurants, women have many purses. They don't just have one. Okay?
Of
They
course,
got to go to work
especially
purse.
rich
They
women.
got to go to dinner purse, the outfit purse. So I don't believe that it was the big gigantic purse.
Okay.
I believe it was probably more. It's Easter weekend.
There was a lot stolen. The keys to her house, her checkbook,
Women in small purses, Brian.
her checkbook. Hold on, her checkbook.
Women come in.
Her passport, her driver's license, her checkbook, $3,000 in cash, and there were other
Women
things.
can stuff that into the
All right,
smallest bag.
we're out of time. Okay, we're out of time. But just a few seconds left. I'm going to stick with deep state op, based on what we know now. We're out of time for today. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. I'm Brian. Steve Kane's here. We'll see you tomorrow, 6 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. If you're on hold, talk to you tomorrow. All right, guys. That's well. Let me take. I'll take another call. Give me a second here. I'll take one more before we sign off. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Todd from Boynton Beach.
Hey, Todd.
I just wanted to tell you, on the way to work, I drive by on Southern Boulevard. There were two fighter jets. It was so loud. Two fighter jets flying over Southern Boulevard.
Today?
So, today,
Well, what does that tell you? I saw a story in the local news over the weekend that, by the way, for those not in the area, that's where Mar-a-Lago is. As of over the weekend, there have been 25 violations of restricted airspace over Mar-a-Lago in the airport. So if they have the fighter jets there, there's been another breach. All right, appreciate the call. I mean, this is nuts. All right, listen, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. If you're new, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe, okay? And if you're already subscribed, do me the favor of liking the video. Oh, hold on. Oops, let me see here. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian, it's Jack again. I thought I'd bring up the economy and how Trump's causing it to tank. How's your retirement and your 401k doing?
I don't have a 401k.
Well, most of America does.
Really?
And I'm scared.
You're scared?
Trump is me to go to
Well,
hell.
if you're scared, why are you calling me? Why don't you go out and try to earn some more money? Have you been selling your stocks?
I haven't been selling my stocks.
Then you haven't lost any money. Then you haven't lost any money.
Brian, when the rest of the world
How much have you lost? Like, how much have you lost?
I've lost about 20% as of last week.
20%?
401k.
What stocks
Yeah.
went down that triggered that? Like, what was the big one?
Have you been lately? Oh wait, hold on. You only look at the economy when it's doing
No,
well.
no. Which one of your stocks that you had a lot of dropped so much that you lost 20% in your 401k?
Oh, it's across the board.
Well, give me one. Give me one of the stocks.
500. I actually diversified and.
Oh, so you can't tell me one of the stocks you own?
I just told you the Euro Pacific Fund. They're all
The Euro Pacific Fund. So what was it 2 weeks ago, and what is it today?
worse.
No, but what were the numbers? The Euro Pacific Fund. So what was it 2 weeks ago, and what is it today? No, don't stop. Worse. Nobody believes you. You just made all that. Appreciate the call. All right, guys. Again, my name's Brian. This, I know it seems easy. It only seems easy because I'm so good at it, guys, okay? Don't try this at home. Oh, my goodness. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. If you're new, subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, do me the favor of liking the video and sharing the video on all your socials. All right, take care.